Hello, peeps. This is the Hillbilly Halfwit. How are you all doing today? And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to call out the hypocrisy of Plaid Cymru and some of the other people of basically trying to paint everybody who doesn't agree with them as fascist or far right or anti-Welsh, because I think it's a disgrace coming from a party that not that long ago, when I was a kid, was bombing houses and setting fire to buildings, and basically one of their own people in Westminster said that they would have been classed as a terrorist group now. And I find this unbelievable that nobody ever mentions this in the media, but they're happy to call the rest of us far right lunatics when we're just Welsh working class people. So I've been calling something here. See what you think of this. This is what I think about the whole subject. Let me say this right at the start so nobody twists my words. I am Welsh to the bone. I love this country with everything I've got. I've lived my whole life here, worked the land, earned a living the hard way, and I would defend Wales at the drop of a hat if I had to. But because I love Wales, I can't sit here and pretend everything is fine. When for the last 25 years this country has been dragged down by a political class that has completely lost touch with the people they're supposed to represent. And what really breaks my heart genuinely is seeing the politicians and the Welsh media now demonising their own countrymen and women simply because they dare to vote differently. That is not the Wales I grew up in. That is not the Wales my parents raised me to be proud of, and that is not the future Wales deserves. You see, I grew up believing Plaid Cymru, Labour, all these Welsh parties were the guardians of our national identity. And like a lot of young Welsh lads, I had sympathy for the nationalist cause when I was a teenager. You're full of passion, you care about your land, your language, your history. You want Wales to stand proud, and that was perfectly normal. But you grow up, you make friends from all over the UK. Your girlfriend might be English, your mates might come from different places. You work with people from everywhere. Real life shows that the average English person isn't your enemy. They're just normal folk trying to get by, same as us. And you start to realise that the political narrative you're fed as a kid was far more about division and control than it was ever about pride or progress. And over the last 25 years, let's be honest, Wales has been run into the ground. Economically, socially, in education, in healthcare, in basic services, and now, unbelievably, in how we treat our own rural communities. We've had a quarter of a century of what can only be described as incompetent, stale, arrogant leadership. They've had total power. They've had billions from Westminster. They've had every chance to lift Wales up. And yet here we are, poorer, angrier, more divided and more desperate than at any point in my lifetime. The working class Welsh people, the backbone of this country, are worse off now than they were in the 1990s. And instead of owning up to that failure, instead of admitting that they got it wrong, the political class and their mates in the Welsh media have decided to do something easier. Blame the people, shame the people, and demonise the people. And their main target today, working class Welsh men and women who vote reform. They're not extremists, they're not radicals, they're not violent groups, just ordinary Welsh decent people. Farmers, builders, mechanics, forestry workers, lorry drivers, parents, retired miners, young couples priced out of housing, people sick of being ignored. These are the people the Welsh media now casually refer to as far right or Nazi, and I'm sorry, that absolutely turns my stomach. These are my people. These are your people. These are the same people that built this country. The same people who worked the valleys, fed the nations, and kept rural Wales alive. But because they've had enough, because they won't accept the forced progressive agenda being pushed on them, suddenly they're dangerous. What a disgrace. What an insult to the people who kept Wales going while the political class sat in Cardiff Bay playing dress-up government. Let's be honest, the real extremism doesn't come from the Reform Party supporters. It wasn't Reform voters who bombed pipelines in the 60s. It wasn't Reform voters who burned hundreds of houses in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't Reform voters who flirted for decades with radical nationalism. But today, those same political movements, Plaid Cymru especially, have the cheek to call working class Reform voters extremists. It's a selective memory of the highest order. And it shows you exactly how out of touch they are. And here's the real truth nobody in the Welsh media will say. Reform voters are doing exactly what democracy is supposed to allow. They're using the ballot box to push back. They're not violent, they're not hateful, they're not extremists. They're Welsh people who've been pushed too far for too long. They've been ignored, talked down to, called thick, called racist, called far right, and now they're finally saying enough. And that scares the establishment, not because it's dangerous, because it threatens a comfortable little political machine that's kept Wales poor and dependent for 25 years. And that's why I'm speaking out, because I love this country too much to watch it happen quietly. Wales is better than this. Welsh people deserve better than this. And if new political movement is not giving ordinary Welsh people and women a voice, and then the response should not be to slander and smears. The response should be self-reflection, better policies, better leadership, better respect for the people who put food on the table, or keep the lights on and raise their families with pride. But instead we get insults, we get manipulation, we get fear tactics, we get propaganda, all from the political class that has failed us for an entire generation. So here's my final message. I am Welsh through and through. I will always defend this country. I will stand up for the working class people who built it, and I will never apologise for calling out a political system that has abandoned us all, especially the working class. If defending ordinary Welsh people makes me dangerous in the eyes of a few journalists in Cardiff Bay, then so be it. But I'd rather stand with the people who keep this country alive than the politicians who are running it into the ground. Wales deserves better, and the Welsh people know it, and that's why things are changing. So, this is exactly what I think. What is happening now, Plaid Cymru, or part of the political establishment, they use the same think tanks as Welsh Labour. They have the same farming policies, no different. All their policies are exactly the same as Labour. There is no difference. They designed the SFS scheme with Labour, and now they're pretending to love the farming community, when the reality is they want to increase taxes on the farming community because they don't want them to be really in charge. They want the environmentalists in charge. And then they have the cheek to call anybody that calls them out about this extremists, when their party was busy setting fire to houses of people from the UK, setting fire to barracks in Wales, bombing things. You know, it's unbelievable that they got the neck to do it, to be honest, when Reform is basically full of working class Welsh people who've decided to become a member, or people who decided to stand up for Reform, who are Welsh people in Wales, been there all their life. Normal working class folk who've got nobody else to vote for because all the other parties in Wales are a uni party. To the extreme. They've even adjusted our election system so they can run it when they don't win. Can you imagine this years ago when the Labour Party started to help the working class, that they would allow anything like that to happen? They wouldn't. It's being run by Fabians. The Wales that I know has gone. The party that's running it now is a Fabian party. All the people in power in Wales, in the Senedd, are pretty much all members of this. They realised during the early 90s, Plaid Cymru changed into a Champagne Socialist Party that realised if it was taken over by these Champagne Socialists, they could be in power all the time with Welsh Labour, and that's what's happened. It's forgotten their roots. They've forgotten what the working class are. They don't know what the working class are. All the people running and who are AMs or ministers are all university graduates who basically they're just pushing some kind of agenda. They don't really care about the working class in Wales anymore. We're chaff to them. The only way to solve this is by voting them out. So don't believe the hype. You just carry on. There's nothing wrong with your views. You're just the same old school views that people have had for years. Like I said, if you voted Brexit, Tony Benn voted Brexit. Jeremy Corbyn would have voted Brexit. John McDonnell. Plenty of them. All the union leaders voted Brexit. So don't be embarrassed about voting for something that you know is right. And with borders, David Blunkett, all the Home Secretaries when I was growing up, all had secure borders and they were sending back illegal people. Now, they brought in a lot of immigration at the same time, but they were sending back illegal people. That's the same policy as a Reform Party now. There's nothing racist about that. And same with Thatcher. They were all sending back illegal people then. There's nothing racist about having secure borders. So don't listen to it and just keep on going. So we're just normal working class Welsh folk who've had a guts full of it all. All the best, guys. Please hype and share and subscribe. Ta-da.